Chair Sorensen, School Board Dr. Groover. I have with me Nexus representatives to go over the bid and looking for approval for bids at the high school.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Tonight we're excited to finally get this long anticipated and long overdue high school addition project underway for our first official board action on getting construction going. We had our bid opening last Tuesday, the 24th. We had great bid coverage. We had 30 different individual bid categories and 108 different contractors bid the work. A lot of local people and some good local people got some were low. We then vetted out the bid results with the facility committee on Wednesday the 25th. Tonight you have in your board packet a recommendation to approve the time critical contracts, things that we need to get moving on right away to get the building out of the ground. Over the next month, the remaining bid packages will be further qualified with by your consulting team and the facilities committee, and we're continually looking for value engineering options as we're doing so to continually try to drive costs out of the project. But right now we're on budget, basically right on budget between general conditions and contingency. We're carrying 4.3% going into construction, but again, we're going to be value engineering moving forward and trying to get that number up even higher. But with that, I'd like to have Jim walk through what's in your board packet and our recommendation.
Again, as Brent talked about, we are looking for contract approval for certain parts of this project, not the entire bid. Again, to help us get started. Those are for Northland Concrete and Masonry, apparent low bidder, for $203,000. Molen Concrete Products, apparent low bidder, $259,306. Rice Lake Construction Group, Masonry. Gresser Companies, right. Contract 420 is Masonry. Rice Lake Construction Group is the apparent low bidder, $824,250. Contract 510 Steel Erection, Red Cedar Steel Erectors at $88,500. Contract 512 Steel Supply, Thornbeck Steel Fabrication, $228,792. Plumbing contract, plumbing and piping, Wiedner Plumbing and Heating Company, $616,000.
Actually, that one's that's we took the alternate. We're not taking that. So 700. Widener base bid $714,000.
I'm sorry. Yep. Thank you. Ventilation, Thielen Heating and Roofing, $448,000. Contract condensing unit supply, Schwab, $156,847. Electrical, Master Electric at $575,137. My correction, I'm sorry, Schwab was not the lowest supply. We have a combined bid from Thielen for $582,000. Pardon the mistake. Are there any questions on low bidders?
And then the last one, the earthwork site.
SM Henches and Sons, $272,656.
A motion to accept the bids as stated in their proposal bid award for the construction.
So moved.
By Rich. Second. And Shannon. Any questions?
This one. Are any of these bidders did they work on the high school when it was built?
No, Master was not. We've had some of these contractors have been some of our other elementaries. Thielen, I think, was at Red Vale.
Okay. Thielen's doing some work right now in the district. Widener's, I believe. Not to us. Okay.
Master Electric is, we use Master extensively in this district.
So we have some relationships.
Yes.
With some of these. Okay.
Did they do the tip ups?
I don't know about equipment.
And then with the
were not awarded at this time, those bids are still good. We just have to,
Yeah,
They've
yeah,
been
so
scrubbed
there-
out.
yeah, right now, we're awarding 9 of the 30. The other 21 will come back to you in the board meeting next month. We're still looking, we're still qualifying. We've talked to all of them. They're all honoring their numbers. There's no bid irregularities. We're okay there. Again, we're just looking for additional value engineering ideas and trying to drive some costs out.
okay.
And they paid their bid bonds, I believe is what it's called.
Yep, bid bonds, they provide bid bonds, and as soon as we enter a contract with them, they also provide a performance bond. So in case you had a situation where a contractor would go out of business, you have something to fall back on to hire the next guy, if you will.
Okay, and we expect the following contracts to be awarded at the next scheduled board meeting?
Some contracts may linger past the next meeting.
Yeah.
Landscaping.
Yeah, there's something about like a landscaping that we really don't need until, we're looking at possibly doing a redesign there, just based on where the numbers came back. And we don't really need landscaping to the very last, to the end. But yeah, we'll have more coming back the next meeting.
So all those people know that even though the bid closed, that award may not be made for a little bit while.
Yeah, the board can reject any and all bids, and as long as we rescope it. For example, we're talking about the landscaping instead of sodding, maybe we hydro seed. As long as we change that, we can rebid.
Any further questions?
And these bids are valid then for?
45 days.
45, okay.
Todd, do you want to give an update on kind of the schedule? There's the activity out there?
So the next question, I'm sure, is when we start. And when we get our permit is when that happens. We've had the permit out as soon as the plans were ready to go. We expect them very soon. There's been no red flags. They do go to the state, and we expect them soon. Right now, we would expect to be in next week in the ground, so the week of the 7th, but it will be updated. I'm sure you'll find out as soon as we get that permit in hand, but that's what we're waiting for right now.
With construction trailer on site,
Yep.
what's going in this week?
We'll be taking care of some of the general conditions, the fencing, the silt fencing, chain link fence, and the trailer's already on site now.
Is that moved over from the middle school?
No.
Different one.
Different one.
The one at the middle school is behind Twin Oaks right now.
Okay, I thought it was gone, so. Thank you, I appreciate all the bids from the people. I think we got a good sampling. So. Any further questions? All those in favor to award the contract bids as stated by Jim?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to the 2014 levy certification.
Good evening. We're here tonight to talk about the preliminary levy certification. As you know, tonight is the last night that we can certify our preliminary levy. In November, the county will mail the notices out to our property owners in the district, and in December, there will be a public hearing, our truth and taxation hearing, as part of our regular board meeting in December. And then the board at that time will certify the final levy at that meeting. The levy can't be increased over what if the board approves tonight at the meeting. And as you remember, this process started back in July. Just a few trends that have been happening over the past few years. Again, this year, our adjusted net tax capacity and our referendum market value have decreased. That was totally expected. Home values and those types of things change, and those valuations go down. I expect this will be the last year that happens. I anticipate that our increases, and especially after you read the paper today, those home values will start to change, and our referendum market values and net tax capacity will start to level off or even increase in the future. There's a big change this year in the pupil unit weighting by the legislature. The pupil unit weighting is 1.0 for grades K-6 and 1.2 for grades 7-12. There was a big variation in the past, and now they've tried to simplify it by those two areas. Those are the only two pupil weightings we have now. There is one new student achievement levy that is out there that our district will receive. There has been slight increases in safe schools and career and technical levies. And then the location equity levy that the legislature approved reduces our excess levy referendum total. And then we also now, for this year, will be the first year that the district realizes the Q comp levy. It's hard to see today, but you can see how our referendum market value analysis, it's gone up several years until 2009, and it's slowly decreased. I expect that will level off for the future. And our adjusted net tax capacity looks very similar. So those two really mirror each other. Just to talk about a little bit about our levy, how that works. We have voter-approved referendums, which of course we go to our voters for. Levies set by state formula, which is a huge majority of our levy, and then anything that's authorized by state based on any local need that we have, such as reemployment and safe schools. Our career and technical Q comp is one of those. We have levied for OPEB, other post-employment benefits in the past several years, and deferred maintenance. If you want to see this, you can see that the majority of our levy is by voter approved. 61% of the district's levy is levies that the voters have voted on and approved for our district. 28% is state determined. So those are things that we really have very little control over. Only about 11% of the overall levy for our district the board has any control over for making any changes. I did want to talk, we always talk a little bit about annual costs for our OPEB. Right now it's at $513,000 for OPEB. That's a small increase over last year. That number can change if the board chooses. It's something that you don't have to levy the maximum for, you can change. But if we don't levy for that, then those monies have to come out of our general fund. Talking a little bit about the preliminary levy certification. We talked about this the other night. We do anticipate that right now we do have an increase in our health and safety levy that we've made some adjustments to. We're really struggling trying to get our levy exactly where it needs to be this year. We expect even by tomorrow that levy will decrease by $300,000. And before the notices go out to taxpayers, that will be corrected to the county. And so we expect that to be about $906,000 this year. You can see that those changes that have been made this year, Q comp is a new levy of $607,000. We do have that student achievement levy and the location equity levy. You can see the offset with that excess levy referendum there. So those things all are changes this year. We do have some up and down depending on how that pupil unit weighting change affected the levy there also. So you'll see an increase this year. It's $13,464,000 right now. We expect by the final levy it'll be down to $13,173,000. So that's an increase of $913,000. If we go to community education, that we levy for, that's a slight increase of $8,500, really no change there. And then the debt service, we are seeing that at the final levy in December that we will be refinancing bonds before the final levy certification in December. That will bring our levy in line and we'll be just slightly over where we were last year, about $50,000 overall between all three funds. And so it's a 0.02% increase. So less than 1/4% increase right now. Like I said earlier last week on Monday night that I thought that we could even be flat or decrease. Right now that's where I'm projecting it to be. I'm always a little conservative. I'm hoping that we get a little bit better than that and even flat. But with all the changes that have been made this year and all the refinance we've done, we've really worked hard to keep this levy flat and stable for the taxpayers for this next year. Any questions? At this time, I recommend that the board certify the maximum levy so that those changes can be made. It will go down, but those changes can be made to the health and safety levy and be certified correctly to the county auditor, just because we know that's still an error in our levy certification.
Do you have a motion to accept the 2014 preliminary levy certification?
So moved.
It is actually 26, 645, 514. And then by tomorrow, I'm hoping it'll be somewhere around 26, 345. I do have a couple of requests up at the department to rerun that and send that correction to the county. They will see a small increase preliminarily, but when the actual taxes, what the district is levying will be flat. You know, I can't say to each individual homeowner how that will affect their individual home, but what the district is levying for next year, when the final levy comes, will be flat. Or close to flat, about that $50,000.
Any further questions?
Preliminary, you said 0.2%?
That will be the final. Right now, we're a little over 4%. But once the refinancing comes through with refinancing the high school bonds, that will decrease that overall levy down to that flat, or a 0.2.
Any further questions? Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Chad. All right, Stacy, all those in favor?
Aye.